looking downfield, launching downfield, going for it all. It is caught. It is Williams. Phoenix Kittle, a big play, and a stiff arm. George Kittle, flag fly. And Manning's going to heave one. There's a flag. That could
Ladies, gentlemen, and all those in between or outside of it, welcome to Monday Night Mock Drafts with Evan, right here on the Fantasy Football Network, coming to you every Monday evening until week 1 of the NFL season. I am your host, Evan Sather. Tonight, my guest is also a Chicago fantasy football legend, like I said in last week's outro, and I had the pleasure of doing the Chicago live draft for Scott Fishbowl yesterday with him. He is a behind-the-scenes and an on-camera guy for the Sports Affiliation. You know him best as Bear Fan Pete. Please welcome to the show, Pete Sandoval. Pete, I made that corny joke before the show, long time no see. I couldn't help myself, but it sure hasn't been that long. It was great to see you again in person, too. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, feeling great. Like I told you earlier, I have a lot on my mind from the fantasy of thinking of everybody's drafts and what they were doing, and, got everything rolling in my head.
Yeah, so how did you like the beginning of your first 10 picks, I should say, as I'm going to show mine on screen momentarily, but how do you feel you did with yours? I thought you had an interesting variety to start.
Yeah, it was a lot of picks of where I picked some older players than younger. It was like really mixed, but it was also where I had to balance what I was doing because the person that I was drafting next to was JC, so he knows what I'm gonna do. So he was sniping me. So that whole group, that whole table, they're legends, and it's just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, yeah, this is getting really tough. So I just had to go with what I know, what I think players are gonna do, and whether they're on new teams or old teams, and just run with it.
Yeah, so I don't think we have that to show off on stream here with how your team is going so far. We're already through 12 rounds now that we've moved on to the slow draft portion, but I'm going to show off my team here really briefly as I have highlighted over here. So everybody in my league got a kick out of my pattern where it just went wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, tight end. I didn't think I was going to be doing this at the live draft, but I just sort of fell into it. Like, it just sort of came naturally with which way players were coming in my direction. There were a lot of running backs that were going off the board, and I was not really big on running backs in this format. Unlike last year where we had another guy. Shout out Gator Raiders if you happen to be watching this. He was our guy last year that took all running backs, but yeah, we didn't have anybody go all one position here. So I just went the colors that we did on our physical draft board were black and green, which happened to be the color of the golf polo I was wearing yesterday too. So I was calling it like dressing for the team that I wanted. Not that you would know because we can't see it on screen here, but I finally took my 2 quarterbacks. I don't know where else I'm going to be going from here. I'm probably just going to shoot for depth of potential high upside guys that I think could be happening, but this is how my Scott Fishbowl team is looking so far. I would be surprised if we get back to my picks again tomorrow at all, but I'm just looking forward to finishing this team. Pete, with how I drafted so far, please give me what you really think. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? What do you think?
Well, first of all, there's no wrong way. Okay, you went in there with a plan, and that plan got thrown out the window. That happens at every draft. So, you did great. Tight ends are the premium. You got really good tight ends, and like I told you earlier, Jacoby Myers. the guy doesn't know how to drop a ball. He's gonna catch the ball. He's gonna make plays. You're gonna get a lot of points from him. Um, you say you went late to go get your quarterbacks, but I actually like it. Look, you Bryce Young. I mean, he's not like elite, but he's got the players there that he's making plays and he's getting better every season. And is that Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is, if he comes back to what he was doing last year, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Warren is going to have all day, so he went at the 304 in my draft, so I won't get the same bonus points that I would get with Tyler Warren that I'll get for Daniel Jones, but just to stick somebody in a super flex spot as opposed to reaching for another guy early like an Emmanuel Wilson or a Juwan Jennings or somewhere along those lines, I just figured, you know what? I've got two super flex slots. Let me at least get a couple of quarterbacks just to even that out. Technically, we don't even have to fucking take quarterbacks in this draft, being that it's ultra flex. Famous J Force 7483, known as Wharf 69 in this mock draft, asks, where are the stacks? I was actually considering going into this draft hoping to stack somebody, but with the pattern that I had going with wide receiver, tight end, back and forth, that went out the window, to Pete's point earlier, where I went in with a plan. The plan went out the window just based off the way it was drafting, and I just kept going with what felt like a good vibe in the live draft. So I'm just going to stick with it. I hope it's not wrong, Pete.
No, you're good. You're good. I'd like to see the outcome of your team in the future because like I said, Harold Fannon's a great pick right there. I mean, the tight ends, you got great tight ends. Some of these teams only got one tight end, so I mean, keep going on it. It looks really good.
I hope it pays off with how many catches that they ever if they ever get it in all season long. But we're going to get it back into the scoring system here for Scott Fishbowl 16, just in case you happen to not know what it is at this point. We have major video game style bonuses, 10 points for every 300 and 400 yards passing, 100 and 200 yards rushing and receiving, 40-yard passing plays, 40-yard rushing plays, and then 20-yard receiving plays, which is a part of the reason why I avoided running backs in my draft so far as well. In addition to tight end premium being 1 point per reception and first down, which is huge for tight ends. Hence my going wide receiver, tight end, back and forth. Otherwise, it's just basics for the rest of this for the data. But I don't want to keep the people waiting too much longer, Pete. So figured we could get into my final Scott Fishbowl mock draft of the season. Pete, we both did our drafts yesterday. Let's do another mock draft. Are you ready, my friend?
I am ready. Let's go.
I'm going to click start. We're going to get this going here. So we're going to kick it off with Fleshmo 6. Thank you so much for coming back. Good, sir, madame, whatever you pronouns you go by. Not sure who you are. Brock Bowers at the 101. Not shocking in the slightest. Brock Bowers went at the 101, and I think at least in two of the divisions at Scott Fishbowl 16 Chicago live draft yesterday. So you're about to make your next pick here, Pete. So I'm just going to finish that point here as well. Jaquan went with Josh Allen. I don't hate going quarterbacks first, even in this format with the bonuses. You went Drake May. I can't remember, Pete. Did you also go quarterbacks for your actual first round pick for your draft yesterday? And why?
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, a guy that can easily get the big bonuses. So was that your thinking going into grabbing a quarterback early just to take advantage of those bonuses that they're likely to hit?
It wasn't, but I seen that the players that were already taken, that this is the direction I had to go. I thought maybe some of these quarterbacks would fall later, but they was just going pretty quick in that division.
Yeah, and so you drafted at the 3 as well yesterday as well, right? Or did you draft a little later?
Oh, I drafted the 9.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were at the 9, so you weren't that far in front of me, considering where. It's funny, like the back half of every Scott Fishbowl, you can't predict. Like you could probably predict the first 3 rounds if you really know your league, but even then, people could surprise you by going quarterback early. My good buddy Kendall, as well as my Fantasy Football Network teammate in his division, he got Jahmyr Gibbs at the 106. My mind was blown when we witnessed that when I live streamed from my phone yesterday. What's the latest you've seen Gibbs go in this format, Pete?
In this format, I haven't really seen him go past the first round, second round. I really haven't. Um, the one that's blowing my mind though is Bijan Robinson going so high. I mean, he's a good player, heck of a player. Don't get me wrong, he is. But putting him number one over everybody, no, I can't do that. Uh, for me, Josh Allen is the premium player in the NFL right now. I mean, he does it all. He can do it all. He throws the ball, runs the ball, whatever he wants. He's got it. He can do it. And I think I believe I said this to you, but I believe that the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl.
I used to be a believer in that as well, but they always find a way to shit the bed in the playoffs. So I've kind of learned to temper my expectations for the Bills until they can get something consistent going on both offense and defense. With Joe Brady running the show, I don't know if that's going to fare better for the Buffalo Bills, but getting DJ Moore as their top wide receiver
Yeah.
is certainly going to help out, especially take some pressure off of Dalton Kincaid, who they want to revolve their offense around. But James Cook, getting him at the 204, I feel like is also a steal if you're going to go running back in this draft. NASCAR Baller took him at the 204. James Cook pretty much is the whole ground game for the Bills, unless Josh Allen just has to take off to get some yards on his own, which the Bills coaching staff said every year that he's going to take less carries, but it never happens. He's got too good of legs to not rush.
Well, DJ Moore can run the ball. He's been shown when he was here in Chicago, they've given him the ball in the backfield, and he's had some success. Not saying he should be the guy run the ball every down, but he can take over for a little bit and help out Cook, and I don't know. I just the way I see it, the way they're built, I think that team is just there, and that window closes pretty fast.
5 seconds for you, Pete.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's another good point too. That just in case there's any Bills fans listening to this, DJ Moore also can take end around handoffs if needed. So that's another fantastic strategy to have with your top wide receiver whenever you need to get a good 3, 4, maybe more yardage on the ground if it's not James Cook. But I don't know Joe Brady to be much of a fancier, not trick play guy, but I don't know him to be an end around guy. Probably because the Bills don't really have any wide receivers who can excel at such a play.
Yeah, I agree. But they made the trade for him. They gave up what they gave up, and they'd be foolish not to make the right moves and putting him in the right play packages.
For sure. I can't see them doing anything different than the way Chicago used him as well with Ben Johnson. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe Joe Brady might have other ideas, but I think they'd be a fool not to throw it to him deep, give him end around handoffs, and make him a all-around possession receiver type of guy. Because whenever Caleb Williams needed to just give a quick slant, give a whatever you want to call it, DJ Moore was that guy. But, getting up there in age and trying to stay healthy and his contract situation, that was what Rome Odunze was drafted for, to be similar to DJ Moore. Hopefully his foot stays healthy from now on too, but that's also why a lot of folks were also drafting Luther Burden over Rome Odunze. But honestly, I think I'm more in the camp of Rome Odunze being the top wide receiver because he plays the most like DJ Moore, where Luther Burden is at least a guy who has more speed, has more of the big playability. His first ever catch in the NFL was that flea flicker that almost went bad against the Dallas Cowboys, and that was also his first touchdown. I could definitely see plenty more in that in store for Luther Burden.
Yeah, I did, with the Luther Burden. There's been I don't know why, really big up talk on he's already surpassed Roma Dunze and this and that. Like, hey, wait a minute, the guy got hurt. Cut him some break. He was playing hurt. He was having a really hard time out there, and you guys were still crapping on him. I mean, he'll be all right. I think this is a big year for Roma Dunze. He needs to put up.
Yeah, no, I sincerely agree as well, being that the foot is finally healed. Now it's time to show why you were drafted, what was that, 10th overall, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago. Because I think maybe I got that wrong, but it was right after the Falcons pick when they drafted Michael Penix.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, speaking of the Falcons, you took Drake London at the 210. Are you at all concerned with Drake London's quarterback situation, whether it's going to be Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix?
Um, Not really. I think it's going to be Tua, though. I mean, they gave him the contract. He's going to play. He's going to outplay Penix. I just think Penix is not that good of a player. He shouldn't have been drafted where he was drafted. That just plain and simple. It's just unfortunate.
I agree. With how Michael Penix looked out there before he got hurt, I feel like you probably could have made a case for him to be like a back end second round draft pick, but to draft him in the top 10 to me is absurd, being that he does not look like he's going to live up to his draft capital. Not exactly like JJ McCarthy level of catastrophe, because Michael Penix definitely looks better than McCarthy at this point, but Penix just doesn't look like a franchise quarterback. They threw him out there too early. He didn't get time to develop. Perhaps maybe Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the guy to develop behind, hoping that they can take advantage of the first round capital later down the road when Penix is healthier and hopefully won't continue to have knee problems like he did in college, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if Tua can learn to stop putting himself out there to get injured and all the concussions, he'll be fine. But if he keeps doing it, then yeah, he's going to be on the bench. But he's got to learn to protect himself.
I love the Teteroa McMillan pick as well at the 410. I feel like Teteroa McMillan is due for a huge breakout season with Bryce Young, and it's criminal how low he's going. I would still rather have Teteroa McMillan over Ladd McConkey, George Pickens, T. Higgins, despite, the fact that I took T. Higgins on purpose. And I feel like Teteroa McMillan could also possibly be more valuable than Olave, Devontae Smith, and even Nico Collins, as much as I'm a stand for Nico Collins. So I'm going to let you make your next pick here before I ask you more about Teteroa McMillan. But I see Luther Burden also went at the 502. Good. I think that's a solid pick for you, Jaquan. Also going with Rashee Rice, just in case he happens to get suspended again for some reason, or hurt, being that he's shown that both possibilities can happen. Looks like time's up. You got Bo Nix as your second quarterback. I don't hate that.
I don't hate it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt to have two quarterbacks early.
I was trying to scroll and my finger was just catching and it wouldn't go up. I was like, come on.
Oh.
I mean,
God, it also doesn't help that ADP is still kind of messy right now for everybody in this format where there's a lot of global 999 in ADP where guys absolutely should not be going. I'm sure that doesn't help too. But yeah, you auto-drafted Bo Nix. Okay, so what? You can probably grab Cortland Sutton later or something like that. And I probably shouldn't have said his name out loud because I'm sure somebody in our mock draft is going to grab him just to mess with us. Anyway. Yeah, I wanted to get back to you about Teteroa McMillan. Like, I think he's due for a big breakout season. What do you think, Pete? Is Bryce Young going to finally have his franchise wide receiver to get better off of?
He does. He has him. He's there. And if you watched them, even just a little bit of their game last year, they played magnificent. He goes up there. He's a big target for Bryce. Like, he gets up there. He puts his hands. He could take hits. He's not afraid. And this is it for Bryce Young. He needs to step up. He needs to show some growth, and I think he can do it this season with Ted. I really do.
I tend to agree. I'm going to go in a couple of different directions that I don't tend to like, where grabbing my second quarterback early, yuck with the Jordan Love pick, but as a QB2, I don't hate it. Jameson Williams, I don't love the boom-bust nature of a guy like that. I feel like Jameson Williams also got a bad start to his NFL career. I mean, aside from some minor issues like being suspended for gambling when he shouldn't have been gambling in that weird, like, on-facility, off-facility rule that he got dinged for, in addition to coming off an ACL tear in college, and then he got immediately inserted as the gunner on special teams, which he is very good at being a gunner on special teams, but coming off a knee injury, Dan Campbell, I think, is insane for putting him in a position like that, because you're just asking for him to get hurt again. That's like arguably the most dangerous position on special teams for kickoffs. But Jameson Williams was starting to show us some signs of life in the passing game, with with some big target games after their bye week after week 8 last year, where he went 0 for 3 against the Giants, but then he didn't really see any games below 7 targets for the rest of last season. So he was definitely a vital part of the offense, and he was getting in he got in the end zone 5 times after that bye week to have 7 total touchdowns on the season. Is Jameson Williams going to ride that momentum into next season, Pete, or can we expect probably something similar?
Oh, I expect the same. He's shown no real growth. I don't know. Detroit's they're kind of they're not actually doing. I don't know. I you can't answer that one. You got me with that one.
I mean, the Lions, I think, definitely try to be a bit unpredictable with their offense, too. I don't blame you with that because a lot of people panicked when Sam Laporta, who Wharf69 took it to 603, wasn't getting the big targets that compared to his wide receiver counterparts. But Ben Johnson, I feel like, drafted Xavier Thomas and Sam Roosh, well, first of all, as replacements for Olamide Zaccheaus, as well as Cole Kmet, who I could see as a trade deadline candidate. But if I know Ben Johnson best, he is going to be a guy that wants to get more of the focal point of the passing game onto the wide receivers and not so much the tight ends. I could be wrong about that, considering that Colston Loveland was taken 10th overall. I think that was the 10th overall. I was mistaking, but Colston Loveland is an absolute dog. Like, he showed why he belonged to be a first round pick. Tight ends typically need like 2 seasons to get used to the NFL level, and Loveland showed why he belonged in the first round. So I hope I'm wrong about that part about Ben Johnson, but I don't know if I see the Lions continuing that as well for Laporta. But Jamo with his speed, I feel like they gotta use him similar to probably like a Luther Burden, right?
I mean, this could be it. This is going to be their window, right, for the Lions. They keep underperforming. They're not getting it done. Could this be the last year for the coach, and then they clean out this team? I mean, there's got to be talk in that locker room of, you know, like, hey, all these teams are catching up to us, and we haven't won a thing. But he could be. But Luther Burden, I don't know. He's special. He's got something different. He's he's got that play making ability where it just comes out of nowhere, and you're just like, whoa, I didn't know he can do stuff like that, and that's what he does well. I just don't see Williams as that type of guy. So we'll see though. We'll see soon enough.
Side note, shout out to Jay Quan, sniping you of Cortland Sutton. I kind of suspected that was going to happen by somebody. But he also went Christian Watson before Cortland Sutton. When Watson plays and he gets targets, he could truly be special for the bonus points in this format, but I still don't want to touch any Green Bay Packer wide receiver with a 10-foot pole metaphorically in Dynasty. Or not even just in Dynasty, but even in Scott Fishbowl. Now it's down to Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and Matthew Golden as the top 3 wide receivers. Romeo Doubs left in free agency. Dontavian Wicks got traded to the Eagles. I think Romeo Doubs is a huge loss for the Green Bay Packers. He's a phenomenal red zone guy. Now the Patriots have their answer for the lack of red zone opportunities from their wide receivers. So what do you think for Christian Watson as well as the Packers wide receivers, our top enemy? Are they going to be really sorely missing out on Romeo Doubs, or do they have other plans that I'm just not thinking about?
Yeah, I can't find another plan. I don't see any other way. I think Watson just got paid, right?
He did.
Yeah. So they gave him big time money for a player that's not really on the field that much. And so that's kind of baffling. What are you doing there? And then you got Matthew Golden. I mean, the kid didn't catch his first touchdown until the last game of the season. So yeah, I really think that the Packers don't know what they're doing in that with the wide receivers. I'd like to see them do something maybe before the season starts. You see if, maybe somebody cuts somebody, they pick somebody up, but if you're looking out there at that wide receiver room, it's not that nice.
No, it really isn't that nice, and it sounds to me like they're going to be sticking with Tucker Kraft to revolve their passing offense around when his knee heals up and he's ready to go. But I don't see why Matt LaFleur does anything different with the passing offense as well. And assuming that Josh Jacobs sees a suspension or possibly faces arrest for or a prison sentence for the strangulation and suffocation felony charge that he currently has to battle, that could be bad news for the run game as well for the Packers, where they're going to have to figure out the running back situation where they're now down to, that would put them down to Marshawn Lloyd and Chris Brooks, which that's not so much a two-back committee you want to have to deal with. So if they were not a rival, I'd wish them the best, but I don't. I still wish them the worst. So we'll leave it at that as you're making your next pick here. I love the Kyle Pitts pick you did at the 7:03 with 5 seconds to go. Let's see where you go with this next. Yeah, Rondé Gadsden. So Pete, so I don't think I'm ready to draft Oronde Gadsden in redraft leagues this year, considering that the Chargers did just sign David Njoku to a 1-year contract, who I'm presuming is going to be the top tight end ahead of Gadsden temporarily as like a 1-year rental deal, just to get Gadsden better acquainted with the NFL level. So am I wrong about this? Does Gadsden still see healthy enough targets to make the bonus points worthwhile?
Yeah, it's going to push him to be better. He knows that the guy's a 1-year rental, so he can get out there on the field. And I think I like him. I think he's going to outplay or outperform in training camp and all that for David Njoku, and he'll be all right. I like it.
Yeah, because the reason I asked that is because I did not. I found that signing, I mean, not baffling, but I found it to be kind of sensible because I don't see David Njoku slowing down all that much, even with the injuries that he's had to overcome as a Cleveland Brown, where he's still a terrific route runner, he's still a good blocker, and he's still got a really good set of hands that he just didn't get to really flourish with all that often in Cleveland, considering, well, he couldn't have Baker Mayfield as his quarterback the whole time, and he had to put up with the carousel of just bad quarterback play after bad quarterback play. Not entirely the fault of the quarterbacks, but just because of their offensive system with just all the wrong coaches. We know all that all too well in the past as Chicago Bears fans before Ben Johnson, where that was the nutshell of why we were struggling so hard to throw the football and have a quarterback that throws for 4,000 yards. Caleb Williams got taken at the 305. Pete, is this the year Caleb finally throws for 4,000 yards?
Yes. Because now that they have 3 sets of tight ends, like I told you earlier, they got Cole Kmet, they got Loveland, they got the tight end they just drafted, Roche. Is that right?
Sam Roche, yeah.
Sam Roche. Okay, they're gonna run 3 tight end sets, and they're not just gonna throw the ball down the field, but they're going to make all kinds of different plays. You're going to have one go straight up. You're going to have one go this way, that way. And he's just going to make a lot of big plays. And he does have to get rid of that tendency where he holds the ball a little too long. And if he can overcome that and get rid of that ball, he's in that 4,000 yards. Although I don't think that's what he cares for. I know he would like to have that, but I think he cares more for the wins.
I think he does too, and I honestly I did ask that question in a semi-serious way because I don't honestly put that much importance on quarterbacks throwing for 4,000 yards anymore, because at the end of the day, running the football is what wins you games, and if your run game sucks, you lose. And that's just the way that things are always going to be, even in today's pass-happy NFL, unlike 30 years ago. But, so, FF Rabbit Dad just says that the 5 slot just won the draft with Swift in round 9. That's drafted by Little Joe P. I would beg to differ about that part. I mean, Swift is phenomenal value for a third running back, especially for a Scott Fishbowl team, But what do you think, though, Pete? Swift as your third running back is surely amazing value for Scott Fishbowl, right?
Oh yeah, he's got breakout speed. He makes great jump cuts. He's really good. I think he's undervalued, in my opinion.
undervalued because he's sharing the backfield with Kyle Monungai, right?
Right. And if everybody thinks that Monungai is going to be the every down back in the future, don't put your money on that because that's not what's going to happen.
No, I don't think Monungai has the talent to do that either. He's very much an angry runner, similar to Isaiah Pacheco, both coming out of the Rutgers system, where that's just the running style that has been working for both of them. But similar to Pacheco, he's not a guy that's going to be catching a ton of passes on a consistent basis either. He's very much he's not a full-time platoon back, but he's definitely a part of a two-back committee that Ben Johnson wants to keep going. I actually traded Kyle Monungai in Dynasty to a Bears fan to get back some pieces that would have helped my future between Joe Burrow and somebody else because I needed quarterback help. So I think I got a pretty good deal out of that in Dynasty. And I'm with FF Rabbit Dad on Monungai, but yeah, he's a strong tandem running back at best. Yeah, as you're making your next pick, Pete, I don't hate Monungai either. I just think that, like you just said, an every down running back is a unreasonable expectation for Kyle Monungai, as he was clearly drafted in the 7th round to be a part of a two-back committee. He's a vital piece of the offense, not quite change of pace, but like situational behind Swift.
Yeah, absolutely. He gives Swift that, hey, go take a breather type of deal. If you're running a screen, who would you want out there? Monungai or Swift? Swift. That's who you want. That's the guy.
All day.
So, if you try to run that with Monungai, he's going to get caught from behind every single time. He's just not as fast as explosive.
No, he unfortunately he's not, but that's okay because he is filling the role that Ben Johnson wants him to fill, and that's all I care about in the end. Because it's no secret, NFL coaches they don't care about fantasy football; they care about winning NFL games, and that's exactly the roles that those two running backs fill out. Wharf69 grabbing Chigo Okonkwo as his 5th tight end. Boy, do I love that pick. I got Chigo Okonkwo late too. I got him in I think it was either the 9-12 or the 10-1 in my draft. Trying to figure that part out. I just lost my
Yeah,
draft,
I do remember
actually.
seeing that.
Yeah, so I got him at the 10-1 to finish off the live draft, and that was after I grabbed Jalen Naylor, who's also an unpopular piece, being that he's allegedly the top wide receiver on the Raiders, and he's a very unsexy pick as it is. Let's go Aaron Jones here because he definitely has that upside, and I want Romeo Doubs because of the red zone upside. So yeah, Juwan Jennings also got sniped from me by Tony C 1965. That's also a phenomenal pick after Michael Wilson. I think Juwan Jennings is going to slide into the number 2 wide receiver role still behind Justin Jefferson. I'm not that impressed with Jordan Addison, as he's a phenomenal deep threat, but I don't think he's very good at anything else. So coming up when we face the Minnesota Vikings, our Bears face the Vikings, Pete, what do you think about the addition of Juwan Jennings? Is that going to be good for Kyler Murray when Jordan Addison is not expected to go downfield to catch a big deep pass?
I think so. But my problem is with the Bears, our defensive backs. I'm not signing off on anything with the Bears defense. You got Kobe Bryant at the safety, he plays really good. So he's new coming in. You drafted a young kid. Jalen Johnson's going to be back. And then on the other side, you have Tyreek Stevenson, was benched all of last year. So I mean, I think that Kyler Murray will do fine there. Juwan Jennings will be okay.
5 seconds, Pete.
It just depends on who they decide to put out there.
Yeah, they definitely had to revamp their secondary on the Bears, being that some of those, especially some of the safeties, were not necessarily getting it done. As much as I'm going to miss, I'm having a brain fart. I forgot our top safety from last year, the veteran who used to be on the Titans. But moving on from Jaquan Brisker, I'm gonna miss Brisker, but I don't hate moving on from him as well. If Dylan Thieneman can be the better safety back there, being that he was our 1st round pick this year. I'm hoping that we're finally getting guys that fit into the Dennis Allen defensive scheme as well, being that I think Dennis was trying to work with pieces that don't necessarily mesh with the way he wants to play.
Yeah, for me, the only thing that bothered me with the whole with that pick is, we need players at the defensive line, and you did absolutely nothing to make that off defensive line better. And if you can't stop the run, and if you're not getting to the quarterback, you're gonna have all kinds of problems.
Yeah, for sure. We're we're sincerely hoping that we do better at stopping the run this coming year, and time will tell. So we're a little bit over the halfway point in this show, folks. If you haven't already, please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the Fantasy Football Network if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to be bringing you a lot of great mock drafts every Monday and Friday in the evenings, as we're going to be moving on from Scott Fishbowl after this week, kicking off the redraft season starting on July 20th, which is my show for next week. Friday mocks on this coming Friday will also, with Kendall and Classic Mike, will also be doing their last Scott Fishbowl mock draft as well. So if you missed out on tonight, you got a chance to join for Friday. Join our Discord server in the description as well if you'd like a shot at a spot for that. I'm going to make my next couple of picks here as well. So, yeah, screw it. I already have Jalen Warren. Let's go Rico Dowdle here just to secure it, just in case it really is a two-headed monster in that backfield. And I'll take a shot on Woody Marks if he happens to catch some passes that David Montgomery doesn't. More running back heavy than I'd like. Definitely the opposite of what I've been doing in my Scott Fishbowl draft. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting NFC North this year, Pete, because we need to see if the Vikings can actually remember how to throw the football again. If the Packers aren't going to be missing out on Dobbs and Kraft if they're not both healthy. I mean, Dobbs is gone too for red zone opportunities. And if the Lions can actually do better than 9-8, they just had Terry and Arnold having to cut him thanks to his stupid crime, unfortunately. Not that he was much help in their secondary anyway, because he sucks at covering and he was always getting burned anyway. But I don't see how the Bears don't win the NFC North this year.
I think it's not going to be that hard for them to win the North. It really isn't. It's going to be more of the other teams in the North not being able to win games. They got a lot of holes. They got a lot of problems. The Bears are at a point where the window's opening for them to take over and, long term. Listen, Caleb Williams, if he does great things this year, if he goes over the 4,000 yards, and he's going to get that mega contract, right? He's going to be in Chicago for a long time. And it's going to be, for us Bears fans, it's going to be great for once. Like, yes, finally. But I just don't see how they don't win the North. I got them winning down the North. I think the only team they'll have a problem with is the Detroit Lions, only because at that time we didn't have a defensive back that could stop what's his name? St. Brown. He was just unbelievable. He was just beating every safety, beating every corner, and it was just like, would somebody please trip him or something? So yeah. I like it though. I like the direction. We're gonna be holding a trophy soon.
You just auto-drafted both Blake Corum and James Conner, but being that we're getting toward the end of the draft anyway, like if Conner accidentally lands on your bench, at least you can always cut him and just go grab somebody else off of waivers. So that's not necessarily the end of the world, but Duarte5656 took Isaiah Pacheco, who FF Rabbit Dad is pointing out that the Bears will be fighting off either Detroit or Minnesota for the division crown this year. Personally, I think it's going to be the Lions more so than the Vikings, being that the Vikings offense needs to actually figure out if Kevin O'Connell can make it function. But the Lions also swept the Bears last year too, and they're not going to want to give us a win. And Isaiah Pacheco is replacing David Montgomery. Not directly, but he's at least going to be a good change of pace for Jahmyr Gibbs. So, Pete, is Pacheco going to be getting at least a healthy workload behind Gibbs, or is this going to be like another 60-40, or are we going to see a lot more for Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think it's just going to be 60-40. It doesn't make sense to overuse them, but you're going to have to use them. The Detroit Lions, their offense needs to get better. They need to start playing better. They need to win games. In order to win games, you got to run the ball. Even you said it earlier, you got to run the ball. And if you're not running the ball, you're not going to win. So I would say it's going to be more 60-40. I think Pacheco's I mean, we've seen David Montgomery in here in Chicago and what he can do, but he wants to be an every down back, and now he's going to a place where that's what they're saying he's going to be. He's not an every down back. He's a Manon guy. That's what he is. He's a Manon guy. So yeah. So but again, I don't think the Lions are going to win this division this year. I don't think they're going to come close.
No, they did go 9-8 for a very good reason. Their defense wasn't getting it done, and the offense just has not looked the same since Ben Johnson left to go get his head coaching job with our Bears. That being said, 2 of those 9 wins were against our Bears, so we have to make sure that we hold them off as well, so that we don't have a nail biter to figure out who's going to be winning that division this year. Thank goodness the better team prevailed in the end, where we went 11-6 last year, which, I mean, with fucking Matt Eberflus, I felt like with Justin Fields, we had the capability of going 10-7 had it not been for 3 blown leads in the fourth quarter under him. But I mean, that point's kind of moot at this point because it's the past. But so now that you're back from auto draft, you went Jalen Noel at the 16-10. Is he pretty much guaranteed to lock up the number 3 wide receiver spot in Houston?
He can. He can. He should. They got some decisions to make down there in Houston, but I could even see him starting to go up more and more and getting more receptions. I wouldn't be surprised.
That is if they move away from trying to throw the ball to Dalton Schultz, who I feel bad that CJ Stroud hasn't used him enough as a security blanket.
Yeah, he's got to figure that out. He's a very talented quarterback, and he makes way too many mistakes.
Yeah, he does not handle pressure well. I've talked a little bit about it on this show before, but when you pressure CJ Stroud, he does not know how to handle the ball well, how to take a sack well, how to really do anything well. Some of that is the offensive coordinator's fault. I mean, they had Bobby Slowick Jr., who I think he left to go be with the Dolphins at this point. So that's neither here nor there at this point. They don't have Slowick messing up that offense anymore. But with the offensive line troubles they were having in Houston, it remains to be seen if they can get a functioning passing offense going, because I got started with my redraft rankings yesterday, and I still have Houston as a top 3 DST. I think Houston's defense is still going to be phenomenal, just like they were last year.
Yeah, I like their defense. And I'm a defensive guy, so I love IDPs and all that. And Houston should be the defense that helps carry Houston into the playoffs. That's how good of a defense. Like, your offense can be just a little okay, have some issues, but then defense carries you in, turnovers, stopping the run and things like that. So I like that. Yeah.
FF Rabbit Dad, getting back to the Lions running backs for a little bit, mentions that he believes it's going to be a 70-30 with Jahmyr Gibbs over Pacheco in snap percentages, and that a number of goal line touches will go to Isaiah Pacheco. So that leads me to my next question, Pete. Does Isaiah Pacheco snipe touchdowns from Gibbs?
No. He's not going to take the touchdowns away from him. I don't think they'll let him do that.
I can't see that happening either, but knowing the Lions and the way how bold Dan Campbell is as a head coach, I think anything is possible with that team.
And that's part of the reason why they've had some bad losses, is because bad decision making.
I mean, we've had a few close calls as well with going for it on 4th down, the way that Ben Johnson definitely loves to do it, just like Dan Campbell. Hopefully we do that a little bit less this year.
I would just like for once for us to take the lead of the game and, sit on the ball, not have to get the fourth quarter and go through all that. It's just, man, But
Pete, what was driving me nuts about last year, just trying to tune out the noise about people critiquing the Bears, was that I think it was a total of 8 games last season during the regular season when we had comeback wins, and people were dismissing them as if, oh, that's not sustainable. You got to do better than that, as if winning the wrong way it has such an existence in which I didn't know there was a wrong way to win in the NFL. I thought wins are wins, no matter what. But evidently, people wanted to move the goalpost to that. But I mean, granted, I mean, sustainability is not so much my issue as much as like a team not giving up in the fourth quarter matters the most. I feel like, you know, don't act like that you have to give up in the fourth quarter if you're down by 17 or 21 points. Anything is possible in the NFL. You got to keep fighting, right?
yeah, yeah. I I remember last year that I forget who it was that said it on national TV. They said that, no, they're just not a good team. You know, that's not how you win. That's not how you play. That's not winning football. You're right. That's not the formula that you go out with to win games. But if you win, you win. That's the goal. Win the game. It's not win with style or win with so many points. It's just win the game. Doesn't matter how you do it.
No, absolutely not. So as you're about to make your next pick in 10 seconds, I'll get to another question that FF Rabbit Dad brings up. Do we think Brandon Ayuk ever takes an NFL snap ever again? I don't. I agree with you, FF Rabbit Dad. I think Brandon Ayuk's career is pretty much donezo. The Washington Commanders still have interest in adding Ayuk to their team, but the 49ers also have to be willing to get rid of him. I don't see John Lynch letting him go just for the sake of paying him not to play for them. I think they're going to have to just eat the guaranteed money for the guy to be a member of the 49ers and just not suit up for them ever again. But the Commanders are the only team I know of that are even remotely interested in Brandon Ayuk. When you shit on teams the way that Ayuk did, there are not going to be many teams that are going to want to come sign you. I don't want to compare Brandon Ayuk to Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown also killed his own career by being such a head case that nobody wanted to freaking sign him. Tom Brady had to beg the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office to sign Antonio Brown. That's how badly he wanted that third wide receiver. And he had him for, 5-6 games before he quit against the Jets.
And he took his uniform off and walked off.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I think somebody needs to go sit down with Brandon Ayuk and have a talk with him and say, hey, listen, buddy, you okay? Let's just go see a doctor. Let's make sure you're all right, because this isn't behavior that's normal. Something's wrong with you. But he's got to be willing to get checked out, because, like you said, he's just shitting on every NFL team. I mean, I don't even know how the Commanders are in when he made a something comment making fun of Jaden Daniels' mom. Like, hey man, no adult over there is walking up to him and saying, "Hey, buddy, let's get you. We've seen this before. Let's go to the doctor. Hope that you're okay." But man, I don't know. I guess CTEs are like, it's getting worse for people.
Even though we can't confirm CTE without a biopsy on the brain at this time until medical science advances, there's no way you can't tell me that a lot of current NFL players don't have brain damage, considering that, you're, depending on the position you're playing, you're banging heads with your opponents on practically every play, especially if you play offensive and defensive line, where you can't take a snap without colliding heads with your opponents.
And they're wearing less equipment. The equipment's getting smaller and smaller and smaller so they can be faster. So when you get speed and two people at full speed hitting each other, it's going to cause damage.
Just makes me glad I didn't play football in my youth, knowing what we know now about brain damage and CTE. It's weird, being that I'm the host of a fantasy football show and I love the game, but it's moments like those which make me wonder, why the hell do I love this game? It's so stupid.
I remember when I was listening to a radio station, some guy was from the Kansas City. He was an offensive lineman. And I guess something happened. He was saying, you guys need to give us a break, and you need to understand that. He's like, we're real people. But when we go out there and we play, it's like back in the old days when you see the gladiators and they're putting their life on the line. He's like, so understand that we know we're not going to live to 60, 70 years old. We give that up and to entertain you and things like that. And I guess in a way, he's right, but at the same time, at any time you could walk away.
That was why I was not mad to see Drew Dahlman retire at 27. It's like the guy's prioritizing his health and family over the game.
Yeah,
He made his money. I'm going to miss him a lot this year at center, but knowing that he did the right thing for him, his health and his family, I'm 100% okay with that. I feel like that's the right thing to feel and say as a Bears fan, because I want our guys to be healthy. We saw what happened with a lot of guys in the past from the Bears that retired. Like Steve Mungo McMichael unfortunately came down with ALS, which we don't know if that was football related, but he didn't make it. That made me sad. And Jim McMahon still has to have spinal fluid flushed out of his system to this day. That's how awful the game used to be.
yeah, yeah. It really is, and I think some people need to just look at the bigger picture. It's not about you winning your fantasy or your gambling or any of that. Like, hey, have some sympathy for these guys. Uh, Dahlman might have had something going on that he's starting to see signs of, and that was at home, and he said, "Whoa, I can't do this no more." He could have had, maybe I got real dizzy or something, and he got scared. It happens. People need to realize that this is just a sport, and while they get paid for it, they still have a choice to say, you know what, I'm not going to injure myself no more.
Yeah, for all we don't know if there's anything that Drew is not telling us about it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be our business, but either way, we're just happy that he did the right thing for himself, his family, and the rest of his life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's all that matters to him. I'm sure. Like, hey, I did the right thing. My family loves me. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. FF Rabbit Dad mentioned the American Gladiators comparison that you brought up, that it's parallel to the NFL. We loved watching it while not fully understanding what it did to the athletes. This was mentioned in the American Gladiators documentary that dives really deep into it. Have you seen this one, Pete? Because I haven't seen this.
I have not, and that's something I need to watch.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna add that to my watch list wherever we can get to that documentary. But yeah, like the Frontline documentary about CTE and what Dr. Omalu Bennett, I think if I got his name right, discovered on Iron Mike on the Steelers Steel Curtain, the beginning of what we discovered with CTE. Just paved the way for understanding like what happens, even to the point of brain damage with like soccer players heading the ball. You do it enough times, that can really fuck up your head too.
Yeah, there's what do I say? Your brain's just floating in there, and every time it hits, there's no cushion. It's not built with cushion all the way around, and so it's not supposed to be doing all these things, all these movements. It's not supposed to be doing it. And when we do it in sports, we're doing it to an extreme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a really good topic. I want to bring us back to the mock draft here. So we did finish this Scott Fishbowl mock draft. Hard to believe that this is going to be my last mock of the season for this particular format. So I want to go over a couple of different teams. We kind of dove into yours a little bit, Pete, but I want to just go over it overall here. So starting off, Drake May, Drake London. Drake May, Drake London. Got the double Drake. I like that. Ken Walker, Tedero McMillan, Bo Nixon, RJ Harvey stack, which I think that's going to be an interesting stack if RJ Harvey can get enough snaps. But with the draft of Jonah Coleman, I don't think Sean Payton wants to rely on one or even two running backs in this backfield. I think he's going for a committee where all the running backs play different roles and change of pace and so on. Like, he hates fantasy football. So I don't know if that stack is going to work out. Was that intentional on your part, Pete, or is there something about RJ Harvey we should know?
That was an auto pick.
Oh, you're right. The Bo Nix part.
that was auto pick back to back. I was flapping my gums and I was like, oh shit. So we'll see. Maybe he works out.
And then aside from the tight ends, going Chris Godwin. So Chris Godwin, it should be interesting in the Buccaneers offense as well. So we're getting some positive feedback in the comments about your team as well. Is this Chris Godwin's last good season in the NFL on the Buccaneers?
Is this what?
Is this Chris Godwin's last good season in the NFL at age 30? and as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because it sounds like they're getting ready to move on from him.
Probably his last year with the Bucks, but not from his career. He still plays at a high level.
Absolutely. So Rich Gonzalez in the comments gives your team a B+. So I think that's a hell of a good mock to have. Not bad for one day after the real thing.
Hey, Rich, I've been trying to get a hold of you. I got a Raiders card you might want.
That's a good thing to have if it's a good legend. So, Godwin, Addison, Higgins in rounds 9, 10, 11 could be really good. I have to agree with FF Rabbit Dad here. I think that's a good trio of wide receivers to get in the middle of the draft as well. We were talking a bit about Higgins. We talked a bit about Addison, too, where I don't have a lot of faith in his future, but I think the upside is at least reasonable for the Scott Fishbowl format. And then you went Travis Hunter at the 13-3, in which he was probably a guy that Scott Fish was trying to bait people into drafting last year, being the two-way player, trying to be like Deion Sanders. But it sounds to me like Travis Hunter may get some plays to sign for him, but I think those days are full-time are over. It sounds like the Jaguars are gonna play him at defensive back full-time, or maybe not full-time, but most of the time. So, do you like the upside with Hunter this year? And if you haven't already drafted him to your team, Pete?
I do. I like the upside. He's at a point where people need to understand that he's not going to play both ways, because if he does, it's just going to do more wear and tear on his body. He's going to retire early. You don't want a player on the field that much.
Yeah, for sure. In today's NFL, it's a lot more difficult to do with what they're asking these guys to do. More games and less rest time in between. I think that those are some factors. We were just talking about the head injuries part. Players are lucky if they could get 5 days to rest up after games these days, which is already tough enough. Upside is great. Is it realistic? Who knows? But if you draft him, you know what you're getting into with a lot of uncertain volume heading toward Hunter's way, because we're not going to have any IDP points this year in Scott Fishbowl either. Connor was an auto pick. Corum was an auto pick. Jalen Noel could provide some value in case something happens to Higgins. Darnell Mooney doesn't hurt to take a shot on. He's familiar with Matt Nagy's scheme, so he's at least a guy that could be okay. Which C. Johnson is this? CJ Johnson. Oh, that must have been an auto pick as well. Unless you meant to grab another C. Johnson, Pete. I'm guessing this was also an auto draft along with Tion Evans. Yeah, these are last year's rookies who were probably undrafted. But honestly, like if the goal is to go for rookies at the end, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to take a shot on rookies if the upside is there and the opportunities are there.
If it's a dynasty, boy oh boy, what did I do? Man, I really crapped a bet on this draft.
I was just trying to say nice things about that. I wasn't sure if there was anything deeper behind it, but that's okay. It's just a mock draft after all.
Let's start over. Reset everybody.
All right, we're gonna start over, folks. Now, but Pete, let's get to the big question I like to ask of all of my guests. So, who do you feel had the best mock draft here tonight?
Well, as I look,
yeah, you got a little bit of time. It's all good. You know, it's 20 rounds to get through, so you can take your time here. Famous J Wharf 69 also mentioned that I got a compliment for my team. Always be stacking. Yeah, you're damn right. I didn't do it for my main Scott Fishbowl team, but that doesn't mean you have to do it, but it also definitely helps, as we were talking about with Jeff Crisco a few weeks back.
Jeez, I can't even see him. Oh, okay. Quick, go back up. What's that? Little Pep in the middle?
Lil Joe P?
Yeah. I don't have my glasses.
Does he win in your book?
Yes.
All right, Lil Joe P, if you hear this, you've got Pete's stamp of approval here for the best team. What do you like about his team here, Pete?
I'm not going to lie. It's Caleb Williams and Loveland. There it is. You won.
The stack. You know
the
it.
Stack. There you go. That's what you want. And he got Swift. There you go.
Getting that Chicago stack, baby. It could work. I mean, Swift has that upside. We were just talking about it.
Yep. Yes, he does.
Taking a shot on some tight ends and wide receivers later. Maybe if Dylan Sampson ever becomes a PPR cheat back, who knows?
Yeah,
Well,
that's my winner.
scam back is the term, but yeah. Isaac Tesla has gotten a few red zone opportunities as well, where he could easily remain the wide receiver 3 for the Detroit Lions, and we'll have to see what becomes of the rookies that he took too.
Very big kid. That kid can play.
Absolutely. So yeah, Lil Joe P, you got it. So, folks, we're gonna start to wrap up this episode for tonight. That was a lot of fun to do that last Scott Fishbowl draft as well. So not much has changed in my own draft as well. So we're still waiting on the next pick. So there's nothing really more to show. But so. This has been another episode of Monday Night Mock Drafts with Evan. One more time, I'd like to thank my guest Pete Sandoval for joining me this evening. Be sure to follow Pete at BearFanPete_FF on Twitter, which you will find on his display name right over there. You just punch that in, you'll find him right there on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to the Sports Affiliation on YouTube as well. Pete, is there anything else that the people should know about you that's coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to be featured on a show this Wednesday for the Sports Affiliation. Going to be interviewed on Game Changers with the host Carla, which I'm super nervous about. So, yeah, check it out if you can.
I've been on Carla's show twice now, the Game Changers podcast on the Sports Affiliation. That's going to be on Wednesday night at what time, Pete?
7 p.m. Eastern. 8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Affiliation. You'll find Pete on Carla's show, The Game Changers. I guess I don't blame you for being nervous though, because Carla is the queen of plunking you with fastballs. If this were baseball, like she loves not just curveballs, but she loves to plunk you with those fastballs with questions that you're not ready for. But not to put too much pressure on you, Pete.
I've watched all of her shows, and I have to do the promos for her and all that. So I know, and it's like, oh boy, am I jumping into the hottest hot seat?
Well, when in doubt, just say something about the Chiefs.
There you go.
So, Wharf69 in Sleeper will be doing the New York Live, as he's mentioned before. Hopefully you get a chance to check out Classic Mike at that mock draft as well. Say hi to him. He's a great guy. I myself haven't met him in person, as well as a Chicago guy. Haven't been over to New York in years, but one of these days I definitely want to make it back out there. I haven't been out there in so long, but it's good times. Pete, have you done any Scott Fishbowl mock drafts in anywhere else besides Chicago?
No.
One of these days we should do that.
Yeah, I would love that.
I don't know what city. I mean, I'm thinking New York would be one of them, but I got to convince somebody Irish to fly me out for the Dublin one, because I've never been to Dublin.
Oh, man. I think if I go there, I'd never come back. It just looks beautiful out there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I wouldn't want to come back either. With how beautiful everything is.
I'd throw my passport and IDs away and be like, no, I'm not going back. Don't worry about
it. All right, folks, we're going to wrap this show up for tonight, and be sure to tune in next week for the beginning of Redraft League mock draft season. Joining me for that one is going to be Alec Martin of the Dynasty Pylon and Nerd Huddle. We're going to be doing a 12-team PPR 2-quarterback Redraft League mock draft. Make it a bit interesting for those of you degenerates out there in July. This has been another episode of Monday Night Mock Drafts with Evan signing off. Have a great night, folks. We'll see you all next week. Take care.